찾았어요. 오, 노르웨이 제품이 엄청 많네. 보세요. 여기 또 노르웨이산이에요. 여기 노르웨이 국기가 걸려 있습니다. 마트에. 신기하죠?
It's because we're meeting the Norwegian ambassador this week.
맞습니다. 노르웨이 대사님을 만나서 노르웨이 수산물에 대해 얘기를 나눠볼 거예요.
But I bet you didn't know about this, Nuri.
뭐요?
Korea is the country with the highest annual seafood consumption per capita.
정말요?
Yes. Take a look at my presentation. Do you eat a lot of seafood? Korea is famous for eating a lot of it. As of 2020, an average Korean consumed 67.2 kilograms of rice and 65.1 kilograms of meat. But the average Korean consumed a greater amount of seafood at 68.4 kilograms. So Koreans were eating more seafood than rice on average. According to the UNFAO, as of 2013 to 2015, Korea's per capita annual consumption of seafood was 58.4 kilograms, ranking the first among 24 countries surveyed. And these are the most popular seafoods in Korea. Shall we look at Korea's seafood production volume? Korea's annual seafood production volume surpasses 3 million tons. The production amount has surpassed 9 trillion won, or approximately $7 billion. Meanwhile, Korea's seafood imports are steadily increasing. As of 2021, the import amount exceeded $6 billion. Exports are slightly less. As of 2020, we can see that a quarter of Korean seafood exports are dried labor.
한국인이 수산물을 이렇게 많이 먹는 줄 몰랐어요. 진짜 재밌는 통계네요.
Right? It's interesting.
요즘 후쿠시마 오염수 논란도 있고 수산물 관련해 국민들의 관심과 우려가 되게 높잖아요.
That's true.
그래서 대사님과 수산물 관련한 이야기를 나눠보기 굉장히 좋은 때인 것 같아요. 노르웨이에서는 수산물을 어떻게 관리하는지도 궁금하고 또 한국에 얼마나 많은 노르웨이 수산물이 수입되는지 그것도 궁금하고요.
I'm curious too.
또 1인당 수산물 소비량이 가장 많은 국가의 국민으로 물어봐야겠어요. 한국이 노르웨이에게 얼마나 중요한 시장인지요.
Okay, let's go meet the Norwegian ambassador.
여러분, 노르웨이 대사관에 도착했습니다. 들어가실 준비 되셨나요? 누가 나오시네.
Hello. 안녕하세요.
안녕하세요.
Welcome to the Norwegian Residence.
Do you remember our year-end special from last year? At the time, the ambassador wrote a promise that she would come on our show, and today she's kept that promise. You have a lovely garden.
Thank you.
Oh.
Let's have a look at it.
Yeah, why not? Wow. As soon as we entered the residence, the beautiful garden came into view. Isn't the scenery overlooking the Hanok very impressive?
This is my first spring and my first summer. I arrived in September last year. So I have to get used to all the 4 seasons here in Korea.
But the place we are having the interview today isn't this garden. We are going to have an interview here because there is a painting of something that fits very well with our interview topic. Okay, so Ambassador, before I came here, I actually went to a market and saw myself that we have a lot of Norwegian seafood products in Korea. So you must eat a lot of Norwegian seafood here in Korea as well.
Yes, that's true. I'm really proud when I see Norwegian seafood on the Korean market. And it's easy to be a Norwegian in Korea because there are so many choices of seafood. It's really great to be Norway's ambassador to Korea. We share so much common values, interests, and of course a love for the ocean. And to walk around in Korean supermarkets, it's of course great to see so many Norwegian products like the salmon. It's almost like being at home in some parts of the department stores.
We're so happy that you feel like home in Korea.
So Norway is known as a marine product powerhouse. How important is the fisheries industry for Norway's economy?
Well, the fisheries industry is one of the most important sectors in Norway. You know, Norway is, like Korea, a maritime nation. And in fact, our ocean space is 6 times larger than our land area. So the sea is very important and has always been important to Norway. So for the Norwegian economy, it is and has always been very important. We are located with very clear and clean water. Norway has the longest, or the second longest, that's true, the second longest coast in the world. And that is a very, good condition for fisheries and also aquaculture.
According to the UN FAO, or Food and Agriculture Organization, in 2020, Norway was the world's second largest exporter of aquatic products. In 2020, Norway exported $11 billion worth of aquatic products, accounting for 7.4% of the global total. In particular, Norway's salmon exports are loved by the world, accounting for nearly half of all global shipments. The reason Norway was able to become a fisheries powerhouse is first due to its natural environment. Norway's deep and cold waters provide the perfect environment for aquatic products to grow well. For aquaculture, Norway also utilized its fjord terrain formed by glacial erosion. Thanks to this, aquaculture has been able to develop since the 1960s. Based on its natural environment, Norway promoted sustainable production strategies, breeding technology development, and trade policies under the leadership of the government, and developed the fisheries as a national key industry. In addition, Norway, which puts consumer safety as its top priority, has established strict regulations and rules on handling seafood for food safety and conducts continuous and active evaluations through these regulations. In addition, Norway is making steady efforts to improve the value of products by introducing cutting-edge technologies such as blockchain and AI to manage aquatic products. Thanks to this, Norwegian seafood is recognized worldwide for its outstanding quality.
We export fish products to 130 countries. And the volume of our export corresponds to 40 million meals every day, all year around. And I think that is quite impressive for a country of 5.3 million people. The water quality, the geographical location, and of course the management of our fisheries are really the most important explanation of why these fish products are so good. For us, sustainable harvest and also traceability of the product are really core in Norway's fisheries industry. And when we talk about management, science and fact-based is so important in order to make sure that we have a sustainable fish population and that we also harvest in a way that also leaves a good fisheries for future generations. That has always been a very important part. In fact, the first Norwegian Parliament back in 1816, when we read the documents from that time, it is said that the fisheries is the most important and hopefully will always be the gold mine of Norway. So I think already back then the Norwegian population realized how important fisheries and how to manage fisheries in a sustainable way is to maintain it for the future.
And I hear that AI is used to track the health condition of salmon in Norway.
Of course, in the fisheries industry and the aquaculture industry, there is continuously technological advancements. So, for instance, to follow the individual fish, it's important. Consumers today, they really want to know where does the fish come from. And AI technology is really being used more and more. So through those very advanced technologies, we are able to trace the fish and make sure that it arrives at the consumer's table safely and also very good quality. So these technologies, they are already being used today, in fact, for face recognition of fish. And that improves, of course, the traceability when we use new technologies like that. So I think that we will see more developed and more technologies, new technologies in the future.
The Seafood Traceability System is a system that records and manages the historical information of aquatic products from the fishing ground to the table and discloses it to consumers. The purpose of this system is to allow consumers to choose seafood with confidence. In the event of an accident related to seafood, the system can help minimize the extent of damage by identifying the cause and stage of occurrence of an accident and promptly proceeding with the recall or appropriate measure for the product in question. As one of the largest salmon exporters of the world, Norway pays particular attention to salmon's traceability system. A 3D laser scanner recognizes a salmon's face to create a virtual ID to verify its identity. Meanwhile, all salmon farmed in Norway are issued a salmon passport, which is a kind of aquatic product traceability system. The salmon passport is a tracking system that assigns a unique barcode to farmed salmon in distribution and marks information about the salmon. The passport verifies all information about the salmon, including the spawning point and time, vaccination status, type of feed, the boat that caught it, and its movement route.
So I can see that we import a lot of Norwegian sea products to Korea, but how important is the Korean market to Norway's fisheries industry?
The Korean market is very important to the Norwegian seafood industry. In fact, the Korean market is one of the most important markets for exporting salmon and also the mackerel fish and the Norwegian red king crab. And I must say I'm very proud when I see mackerel being provided to the Korean consumers, because I know that the Koreans, they really like mackerel, and that is one of my favorite fish too. And the mackerel in Norway arrives in the fjords, and it's very, very big news when the mackerel arrives. Everyone really wants to have some part of it. It's a very popular dish in Norway. And for instance, in my family, we prefer to fry pan the mackerel and make a sauce with sour cream, in fact. And even the skin of the newly arrived mackerel is so crisp and so good. It's really very tasty. A new product which is now being launched on the Korean market is the stockfish. And the stockfish is a very special product from Norway. Actually, it dates back to the Viking times. So for 1,000 years, it has been dried in a very special way. It's produced up north in Norway, and the fish dries air dry before it is packed and shipped to the market. And this new product, I think I will follow with great interest and see how maybe the Korean market receives the product, and also how the stockfish will be used in the Korean cuisine.
So have you tried like mackerels in Korean way?
Yes, I have. For instance, I had mackerel, a whole mackerel. Often I see that the mackerel is presented in a beautifully whole fish way. And of course, for a Norwegian to enjoy mackerel with chopsticks, that can be a challenge. But it really tastes so good, and there are so many ways of enjoying it. So I'm learning more ways here in Korea, and even understand that mackerel is something that you serve for breakfast.
Yeah, as a side dish.
Yes.
You should try the mackerel with kimchi. That is one of Koreans' favorite dishes, I would say. We call it 고등어 조림 in Korean. Maybe you should try it.
Yeah. But as we talk now about the dishes, when it comes to mackerel, the Norwegian and the Korean, I would say culture, we really share that we cherish the mackerel. So it's not only about seafood, it's also about sharing culture and of course economic cooperation. In fact, Korea is ranking as the most important market for Norwegian exports of mackerel at the moment.
Korea, which is surrounded by the ocean on 3 sides, and Norway, which borders the North Sea to the southwest and the Arctic Ocean to the north, are both known as fisheries powerhouses. In line with these geographical features, the two countries have maintained friendly cooperative relations, especially in the field of fisheries, since the conclusion of the Korea EFTA Free Trade Agreement in 2006. Looking at Korea and Norway's import and export products for 2018, Norway mostly exported crude oil and fish to Korea, while Korea exported products related to shipbuilding to Norway. As of 2022, about 30,000 tons of Norwegian salmon were imported into Korea. As for mackerel, about 45,000 tons were imported. And if we include processed mackerel, it increases to 50,000 tons. For mackerel, exports to Korea amounted to 35% of exports to the Asian region, ranking first among Norway's major mackerel export destinations. Also, Korea and Norway signed the Korea-Norway Seafood Hygiene Agreement on May 8th. Paper sanitation certificates submitted when importing fishery products were replaced with electronic certificates.
So in May, there was a digital transition ceremony where the sanitary certificates were changed to e-certificates. So what brought about this change?
Traceability, safety and sustainability are really core in the Norwegian fisheries industry, and to ensure that the fish arrives in the best quality swiftly to the Korean market. The change of paper documentation to digitalized health certificates, that is really been an important part of improving and enhancing Norwegian-Korean collaboration. And in fact, Korea is the first country for Norway to enter into such an arrangement with e-certificate. And I think that demonstrates how important the Korean market is for Norway.
So lastly, how can Korea and Norway cooperate in the fisheries industry in the future?
I think it's important to know very well about each other's preferences and partnerships with Korean retailers and partners are important to develop products that are demanded here in Korea. So just give you one example. For instance, boneless mackerel. It's a new product. It's an important product because consumers like to have boneless fish.
Yes.
So these are examples how we can develop new products. Also, single-user packages. As more people are living alone, it's important to make sure that the product are fit to the consumer's demand. So these are examples. And of course, to develop good technological solutions like we did with a health certificate, and always work together to ensure that our ocean is clean and healthy and productive. So I think we have a lot to work on together with Korea in the time ahead.
장소 여기예요. 되게 재밌는 게 이렇게 바닥에 킹크랩.
Very soon, another exciting event is coming up, and that is the Norwegian Red King Crab seminar.
Can I get an invitation of the seminar?
We're going to tell you the story about how we catch it and how we transport it to make sure that you get the fresh and alive king crab delivered almost every day to the Korean market.
Today's seminar was organized by Seafood from Norway, which is a marketing organization affiliated with the Norwegian Ministry of Fisheries, and it aims to increase the value of Norwegian seafood resources and to inform the origin of Norwegian seafood.
And for several years, Korea has been one of our most important markets for live king crab.
Which means about 2,900 tons, just under 3,000 tons is consumed in the Korean market.
And you probably will not be so surprised, because the biggest associations are freshness and great taste.
I learned a lot of new things about Norwegian king crab and that Korea is a very important market for Norway.
이제 제가 이제 2월에 한번 이제 드디어 이제 협회 측에서 이제 도움을 주셔가지고 같이 가가지고 이제 현지에서 이제 킹크랩을 직접 잡는 모습과 그 배도 한번 타보고.
The story of a Korean chef who recently went to Norway was interesting. He said he was able to closely see how seafood is harvested and managed in Norway. After the seminar, I decided to interview the chef. 그들의 관리하는 방법에서 좀 어떤 점이 좀 인상 깊었는지.
이제 노르웨이는 배 크기도 이제 제한이 돼 있고 잡는 것도 최대한 이제 스트레스 안 받게끔 그물로 이제 최대한 이제 들어 올리고 잡는 순간부터 스트레스를 안 받게 하고 이제 배마다 어획량이 또 정해져 있어서 무분별하게 잡지 않아서 이 개체수가 계속 일정하게 유지가 되거나 오히려 늘 수도 있게 이제 그런 자연을 생각하면서 섭리를 생각하면서 이미 그거를 다 진행을 하고 있고. 제가 제일 인상 깊었던 게 이제 오슬로라는 이제 노르웨이 이제 수도에서 공항에서 이제 우리나라 인천공항으로 보내는데 노르웨이 안에 수족관 같이 킹크랩 호텔이라고 부르거든요. 그쪽이 이제 수족관이 이제 사이즈별로 다 칸이 나눠져 있고 그 똑같은 시스템이 우리나라 인천공항에도 있대요. 그래서 그 정도로 신경을 쓸 정도로 노르웨이에서 이제 살아있는 상태로 항공으로 쏘면은 그때 통관을 또 해야 되잖아요. 그때 동안 또 머물 공간이 인천에도 있는 거예요. 그렇기 때문에 애들이 이제 살아서 배송이 될 수 있는.
Because he had been to Norway himself, he told me a lot of vivid stories about Norwegian seafood. 제가 이렇게 많이 담은 이유는 저희 촬영 감독님과 함께 나눠 먹기 위해서입니다. 이걸 제가 다 먹으려고 많이 담은 게 아니에요. 진짜예요. 맛있는데? 여러분, 저는 제가 해산물을 되게 좋아하거든요. 이게 킹크랩이에요? 이거 맛있다. Thanks to the ambassador, I was able to enjoy Norwegian seafood. 맛있다. 맛있어.
Looks like everyone's having a good time with Norwegian red king crab, right?
Master, thank you for inviting me to this lovely event. I really enjoyed it.
And I want to thank the ambassador for inviting us here.
So, how do you feel after you successfully completed this event?
You know, we are very, very happy to have this seminar on the Norwegian red king crab. And also, this is actually the first time after COVID we were able to gather local contacts and Norwegian exporters to discuss and to share ideas for the Norwegian king crab market and its future. So I guess this was a very good afternoon.
Through the interview with the ambassador, I learned a lot of new things about Norway that I didn't know. And through Fisheries, I hope Korea and Norway can learn a lot from each other and cooperate more.
It's a tale of one of Koreans' favorite fish. You can guess.
뭔가 한국인이 1인당 소비하는 수산물의 양이 세계 1위래요. 이렇게 맛있으니까 사람들이 많이 먹지.